pleased to be joined now by former NFL quarterback and Thursday Night Football analyst for Amazon Prime Video. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick joining the show. And Fitz, thanks. Before we get your first question out to you, we do have to tell everybody Thursday Night Football streams exclusively on Prime Video Thursday nights throughout the NFL season, beginning this Thursday when the Dolphins host the Bills, with pregame coverage starting at 7 p.m. And you will see Ryan Fitzpatrick right there on Amazon Prime Video as part of the pregame panel. Fitzy, good to see you as always. Hope the start of the regular season is treating you well. How you been?
Chris, I've been great, dude. What a great win for the Bills, too. I'm not going to lie. I live in Arizona now, so I was getting a lot of haters out here in Arizona that were really looking forward to a Cardinals upset. So it got noisy early in that game, but that was a great Sunday, just in general, football being back. Best time of year, obviously, and was a great way to see the Bills come back and win that game.
What do you think of your first thoughts about opening weekend? You look around, I mean, in general, it's always good to see the guys kick it off again, particularly with the Chiefs in Baltimore on Thursday night. And then, you know what it's like to play in kind of a home opener, kind of big with expectations, that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts about how, around the league, what you thought about the trends in the league and the dynamic kick and all of that?
Yeah, well, we got to see one returned, right? We got to see a touchdown. I think the dynamic kickoff is going to be interesting all year. It seems like right now most teams are saying, let's don't even mess with it and let's kick it out of the back of the end zone. There will be some opportunities when it lands short, for sure. But I would say this, one of the trends that just was interesting, it just seemed like offenses got off to a slower start. It seemed like some of the quarterbacks, and I think some of this comes from not playing in the preseason, everybody getting their feet under them. But as a quarterback, you don't get hit all offseason. You don't get hit in the preseason anymore. And so when you get out there, you're working with new pieces, sometimes working with a new play caller, and live bullets are coming and you're actually getting hit. That first fumble by Josh, sometimes that happens where it takes one to just, oh, yeah. Now I remember they can actually hit me again. I've got to be a little bit more careful with the ball. I think I saw that around the league where there were some struggles with some of the quarterbacks that we'll slowly see go away because they're going to get more into the action as the season progresses here.
We're still kind of gathering evidence as to what Joe Brady's stamp on this Buffalo offense is going to be, Fitz. And last year, when it was uncertain as to whether he was triaging the offense or molding it into what he wants it to be down the stretch last year when he took over as interim, he ran the ball on average 37 times a game when he took over. That led the league. Yesterday, counting Josh's carries and scrambles, it turned out to be 33 carries, which is close to the number. And I'm kind of wondering, too, if with the cyclical nature of the league, if we're going to get back to seeing a little more run. Harbaugh's in the league now with the Chargers. I think that's going to up the average. But do you see a possibility of maybe some OCs leaning on that run game a little bit more, obviously still understanding it's a passing league?
Yeah, and then we saw it in overtime with Detroit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you saw that physical brand of football. It's funny. I've been expecting that for a few years now because as these linebackers get smaller and as the defensive players get smaller, you would think that football is just always cyclical. So you would think that we would come back to that. But yes, I like the smash mouth version because then it also just opens up the field on the play action stuff. I think one of the difficulties that some of these teams have with so much shotgun is sometimes the play action isn't as effective when you're not under center. And, I don't know because of who's coming into the game now from college to the NFL that we're going to see more under center. I think that's a fad it's kind of going away. You'll see more pistol and you've seen more pistol. Atlanta was an interesting one where it was just almost primarily shotgun. It just gets difficult sometimes with the play actions and that stuff.
So when you see that trend coming and maybe the pendulum does swing back, but they're kind of, every NFL team is a little bit a slave to the talent that's on their roster and the talent that's available to them. So We did see Baltimore do that when they drafted Lamar. They said, all right, you know what? We're going to get wide receivers that can block. We're going to get an offensive coordinator in, and we're going to run our
Three
offense.
tight ends.
We got 3 tight ends, the whole thing. Teams can kind of see that coming, but I think the magic elixir would be is if you could do either or, where you could load up, run heavy, or run the ball effectively and be a power type offense and do it for an entire game and then come back, spread them out, go 5 wide, and let's air it out. I mean, is that a possibility in your mind?
Yeah, I think Detroit's a good example of that, right? Where they've got 2 pretty dynamic guys on the outside. They've got a great tight end, but they have a very physical offensive line, and they've got a coach that's what he's all about. It's a grit and toughness. That being said, they're very happy to spread it out. They're very happy to leave the ball in Jared Goff's hands on a meaningful second, third, or fourth down at the end of the game when they're trying to run the clock out for him to throw it. So I think if you're looking at exactly what you're saying and does it exist in the NFL, Detroit, who right now, may be the favorite in the NFC, they play that brand of football. So I think that's a good one to look at.
All right, let's get a look at the game you're going to be covering on Thursday night in Miami. 2 teams that you suited up for. So it'll be interesting to see your reception down there in Miami, knowing there'll be a healthy amount of Bills fans as well. But in any event, it's interesting that Miami struggled to run the ball yesterday. They still end up with 400 yards of total offense and finally kick it into gear there, but their offensive line is once again under fire for some of the run game struggles they've had. And, this defensive front for Buffalo did a pretty good game against what was a top 5 running team last year in Arizona. But just your look at it at first blush, Fitz.
Yeah, I think I was really surprised at how Miami struggled early offensively. I think that'll be addressed and fixed, with McDaniel, which is obviously we've talked ad nauseum about Shanahan's tree, McVay's tree, all of that. But I think one of the great things about that type of offense is you can be out schemed. And so it's not necessarily always about who's in front and who's blocking. A lot of times it's about being out schemed and getting numbers. And I expect them to run the ball a lot better this week. The difficult thing when defending Miami is there's speed everywhere. And so at any given time, any given play, even if they're struggling, you see him hit Waddle for a 50, 60-yarder, whatever it was, and then obviously the 80-yarder to Tyreek. It just gets so difficult to contain these guys for an entire game. Buffalo's going to play a lot of 2 high safeties, and they're going to dare them to run, and that's something that Miami last year proved that they're really good at. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. It's one that Josh has really had a lot of success with going against Miami. But I see this as being a great game, and I can't give my pick yet. Steve, I want you to tune in, so I can't give my pick yet. But
Right. I get you.
I think it's going to be a great matchup.
I am on pins and needles, yes.
Yeah.
First of all, 2 things quick before we let you go. What's your T-shirt say that you're wearing? We can't see it. And secondly, after you show us the T, what's it say? We can't see.
It says, I keep all my jokes in a database.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my
Yeah,
gosh. Yeah.
Get it?
Okay.
Get it?
That's a good one. Man, second thing is, tell me about Steak and Shake. Eric Wood told us to ask you, how big a number did they pay you to pose behind burger boxes on a bearskin
Shake Shack.
naked?
We got to get that right. Shake Shack. Shake Shack.
Yeah.
Shake Shack.
Yeah, Eric Wood, the man whose hands you put under his butt, he wants to know what price was it to get you in this position?
Guys, you know what? You got to give the people what they want, and I know that, Eric Wood hasn't seen that body in a lot of years. So I just wanted to make sure that he still knew I was there and at least working out a little bit, and the chest hair is doing great.
Yeah, and I mean, the bearskin actually, makes you look like you could stand to have a few more hairs on your chest because, it kind of takes away from you, I think. I think they shouldn't have even done the bearskin rug. They should have had you in all your glory there. So, all right.
Yeah. The tough part about that one is I do have my oldest daughter's 13, so she was not particularly thrilled when that
That's a hell of a
that went out.
debut on social media, Fitz. I do
Yeah.
have to tell you.
Yeah.
That's remarkable.
What are
So
you gonna do?
you've got far more guts than me. So good on you for being who you are and proud of it.
Thanks. Fitz.
Bravo.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right, thanks. Thanks,
All right.
guys.